normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
How long were you with the Offspring? 14?
14 years at this point.
14 years.
Yeah, and so I'm like, wow, that was a really weird phone call. Like that, that seems unnecessary. And I took it to the band. They backed him up. Didn't matter, and everything deteriorated really quickly after that. And then, basically overnight, just ghosted. Like I found out I was replaced. I checked my Southwest app. My flight to rehearsal had been canceled. My access to the band work calendar was revoked later the same day, and that was just it. It was just like you, your family, everybody, doesn't matter your race. And it's, they say
That's
like
so crazy.
You find out who your friends are, but it's like when you're in a band, and you guys can attest to this too, your family, like some years you spend more time on the road with these people than you spend with your own family. And, everyone's your family, but you find out where you are and where you really stand the first time you say no to something. And, this was the first no that I had given, and I was gone.
This sounds like, it sounds like the Soviet Union. It sounds like how communists behaved in Solzhenitsyn and things like that, that you were a terrifying other and you were not adhering to, what do they call those things? There's a phrase for it. I don't know. I got to listen to more James Lindsay, like front lines or something like that, or I don't know, some phrase where it's like there's a narrative everyone must follow no matter what. Don't question it. Stay in line. Don't back off. And so when you are even legitimately
Dangerous
through medical
element.
reasons, no, there's
line?
What is it?
Party
No.
line?
There's a
I'm
word
not sure
for
what we're gonna say.
it. There's a word for acceptable narratives like. You must agree with the Ukraine war. You must agree with the lockdowns. You must agree with the vaccinations. You must side with these political issues. And if you don't, then you're outside. It's crazy that like you were saying before COVID, and I would actually add, I think before the Trump era, whatever you want to call it, if you are of different political background, like you could still be friends. And it was like, oh, I don't know, I guess. And then we talk. Now all of a sudden it's like, bro, they didn't even call you. They were just like, quick, delete make him go away. We don't even want to hear his name anymore.
Yeah.
That's like weird cult level.
Yeah. Not just me.
Crazy
but
stuff.
To me, it was like my whole family. Our wives were really close. Our kids grew up together. And, and for me, the reason that I didn't say anything at first, like I took a month to kind of clear my head and like see what would happen because I'm just ghosted. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll hear something back. And so nobody said anything. And then they've got a tour coming up and they've got shows. They had a show in Nashville where I live and people are hitting me up for tickets for all these shows that I know I won't be at anymore. So it was like, all right, well, what do we do here? I don't want to have this conversation 500 different times. So, drafted up a statement, was pretty nice, explaining just basically, here's why I won't be there anymore, and didn't say anything bad about anyone, and was just like, but also said, I don't think this is right. I don't think anybody should be forced to get this by their employer, by the government, by anyone, and so if anybody else feels left out and lost here, like, got your back, understood. And I just figured firing squad, flamethrowers, and that would be that. But
Well,
yeah.
Shout out to the chat. It's Mass Line. It's the political, organizational, and leadership method developed by Mao Zedong and the Chinese Communist Party. It refers to formulating policy based on theory, implementing it based on people's real-world conditions, revising theory and policy based on actual practice, et cetera, et cetera. But people make references to, like, the Ukraine war starts. You must agree with it. And so you end up with this weird circumstance where the American political left, as we describe it, is critical of the military-industrial complex, supportive of the military-industrial complex, in favor of pro-choice because my body, my choice, I choose my medical practice, but then you should be forced to undergo medical treatments. Completely, none of these things align logically. They align politically. And there's no logic to it, but that is what you must adhere to. Right? When it comes to the U.S. funding of, Israel, for instance, they're like, no, this is bad. We shouldn't do it. When it comes to the U.S. funding of Ukraine, it's like, yay, those Russians are bad. When it comes to medical treatment, it's my body, my choice, except if it's pertaining to lockdowns and mandates.
Yeah.
No logic.
It was bizarre.
Zero logic.
And that's the thing. And then I had people, online coming at me and people I knew coming at me going, oh, well, you're this right wing thing now, or you're this or that, which that's not insulting to me. Like I'm friends of all political stripes, but it was just bizarre that it's like, okay, if you won't do this thing, here's the laundry list of things we're going to call you that we think are terrible, but it didn't make any sense. I'm like, I'm standing in the exact place that I've always been. I voted for Bernie Sanders. Have people yelling Trump supporter just because I wouldn't take the vaccine. I'm like, it's not an insult, but it's not accurate.
They don't care.
But I thought we weren't putting, labels on people that they didn't ascribe to.
I love that. Like,
So you're not QAnon?
I'm not. Yeah, go figure. Right?
I figured that was the guy from The Offspring the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
You're not.
Is that? But did any of the other guys in the band, any of you guys experience similar things, like refusing to adhere to lockdowns or anything like that, or is it just is that why these guys are sitting here at the table?
I mean, yeah, luckily, I live in Texas, right? So it's not an issue. It never even really came up. Dicky and Pete are my friends, and it was like, holy crap, what's happening to them is so crazy and wrong, and how can I be there for my friends, kind of thing.
Man, that's crazy. That's awesome.
But that's
right?
nice, right?
Yeah, but that's normal.
But that's
you know
the thing.
what I mean?
That's
For
what
all
friends
the
do.
people that
Yeah.
ran from you, there's this other group of people that ran towards you, and you kind of,
Right.
like my wife said, we're not going to hide here. How do we find our people? How do we find our tribe? And for me, it was mostly like to speak out and say something, because I know tons of people got fake cards, tons of musicians, everybody went back to work, kept their head down. I'm just going to ride this out, and that's cool. But for me and my kids,
Do you want me to list those names?
no, we're good.
I
mean,
know
a
a
lot
bunch.
of-
I know a bunch of them.
A lot of people probably
All right.
do.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you guys what, man.
Tim wants me to list them.
I'm 50-50. Some people deserve privacy. It depends. If they're hypocrites and they're evil
All
and they're
right,
doing
all
nasty
right.
things, you call them out. But you talk about the people rushing towards you. I'm pretty sure my mom. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure she cried when she found out that Pete Parada, the drummer for The Offspring, was playing drums with us. Because when I was a little kid playing Offspring songs, and she's bringing me like guitar lessons or whatever. This is the band. These are the CDs. I got the tab books for Ixnay and the Hombre, Smash, all at once, and I'm at home. I'm playing it all. And then one day she's like, "The Offspring drummer is playing drums with you? Like, this is so amazing." I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I mean, it's crazy. And then for Ian, when we mentioned that you were coming, Dicky,
Yeah.
Ian starts listing off all the albums he used to listen to.
Dude, loyal, man.
Dude, screw these
Sounds nice and
people.
smooth.
These
I've spent the day with Ian. I wish your mother liked me. No, I'm just
she
kidding.
probably does.
It is interesting how if you're a kid and you have like a hero that you look up to and then you live your truest self publicly, that you may end up working with them. Like, that is mind blowing.
But maybe you wouldn't want to, because like, look, my mom was, when I was little, she's like, oh, Dexter Holland, he's getting his PhD and all that stuff. Like, she was so proud that I was looking up to a band where the lead singer, this rock star, was also getting an education. And I did think that was really great.
Tim, he flies his own plane.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's
He's a rocket scientist.
That's fantastic. And he's a bad person. He's a bad guy.
I
Because
don't know.
I got, if there's no excuse, man.
He broke young Tim's skateboarding young
He did it.
13-year-old heart.
Child me is like learning now and is smashing guitar in the background.
What a great guy Pete is.
I would push back on anyone being bad people. I think sometimes people make choices that I would consider bad. I didn't enjoy the choice they made for me. I don't think they're bad people. We were friends right up until I never heard from them again.
You're a nice guy, Pete. You're a nice guy, but I got to tell you, here's how I imagine the circumstance. Right, they're a big touring band. Right, they're doing a bunch of shows, and these venues mandate it because the government mandates it.
But the venues weren't.
Not all the venues were.
The venues weren't mandating it. They left. Well, I guess on the audience. So yeah, some venues were saying, we'd
Well, then
we'd
they're
like
even
the
worse than I
band.
thought.
But I know plenty of bands that had, someone had a medical exemption and it was accepted. It's not like they were clamping down because no one wanted to cancel shows for any reason. It was
Dude.
just show us a piece of paper, come play your show. Whether it says you got it or you can't get it.
Is it public how much they made when they did shows, like what their rates were? I don't want to out anybody's private business stuff, but I don't know if it's like publicly known or something.
I don't know. I don't
But
even know myself. So.
I'll just say, they're not poor, right? And my view is, if I had a band, if I had a show, if anyone at Timcast, and we were going to do shows, we're going to do a bunch of venue stuff, and something like this happened, there's no way in hell I would cut off communication and terminate someone I'd worked with for 14 years. My worst case scenario would be something like, I'd go to you, Pete, and I'd say, we got your back. We'll keep you in the studio as long as we can. When we can get you back on the shows, you're there. We'll keep paying you. Come hang out. The venue doesn't let you in, screw them. We may have to get a touring drummer, but we got you, man. We're here with you on this one.
I wasn't allowed in the studio either.
But that's it.
Well, that's the thing, though.
I'm like,
the conversation I was trying to have with them was, hey, we don't know yet. You know, the manager's screaming at me, well, there's borders you can't cross. And I'm like, well, which ones? Well, we don't know yet. Great, we don't know yet. There's venues you can't get into. Which venues? Well, we don't know yet. I'm like, well, then it just felt like it was a little soon to pull the trigger on get this or get out.
Yep.
And then they go on tour, and I'm getting text messages and Instagram messages from all these other bands. Then they're like, dude, we're on the same festival with your old band today. None of us got the shot. Nobody asked us for papers or anything. And I'm like, I know that.
That's
and you
why-
know that, but I can't get
What
through to
bands are those?
anybody. Yeah, there was no venue the fall of 2021. There was no venue in the United States that I could not have played with them. I looked up everyone, believe me, until I finally had to just stop caring for my own sanity and mental safety. And but you know, once they went to England in October, November, yeah, I wouldn't have been allowed to go there, and I understand that.
Then I tell you, like, I would outright just be like, bro, if you can't come in the studio because they won't let you, if they can't let you enter the border, my response would not be, well, you can't cross the border, so you can't work with us. My response would be, looks like you're getting a year where we're going to pay you because they're not letting you come. Keep an eye out, and we'll go through all the fine details as soon as we can get you in. We get you in. If you can come in this country, you're with us. If not, hang out at home, and we'll keep paying you.
Yeah, it wasn't about that. It was just you can't say no to people that are, you know.
Well, of course.
Yeah, I was not in a position
For
to
so
say
many
no.
people, though, it's also just optics. They don't want the controversy. They just want to be able to say that, yeah, everyone's that.
Man, it's such a bummer, but I think we're winning on this front. It's not just about, you know, COVID. Trump was also, there's like a similar thing here, but COVID was really like, with Trump, there's a lot of people who voted for him but kept their mouths shut. With COVID, it was just like 10x. I'm worried something like this happens again, where it's a mass line you must adhere no matter what.
White lung?
White lung, you know, I don't think it'll be white lung. People are pointing out like it's affecting kids, and that's a problem for sure.
But is that the way back in though? Because you know, COVID wasn't affecting kids, and that was the one thing they couldn't convince people. And I think that
That's
helped
suspect, right?
things to kind of crumble. But this one out of the
Make
gate,
no
they're
mistake about it. This time it's affecting kids.
But I mean, like with Trump's campaign, a lot of people kept their mouths shut because they didn't want to be outed as a Trump supporter. But there was no harsh, extreme authoritarianism. You're not locked in your home. Then they do the lockdowns, and it's the same thing. It's the political line you must adhere to no matter what, and the punishment was 10 times more severe.
COVID was like,
No, like how many? Well, just sorry, but like there are some people who got fired for being Trump supporters, but early on it wasn't as pronounced. There are some musicians who were accused of being at January 6th. They got fired, but like the COVID stuff is outright take a medical treatment. And in your instance, against the advice of your own doctor. And that's crazy because you should definitely just not listen to strangers and listen to your doctor. And the level of, this is what I mean. If you supported Trump or didn't support Trump, it's kind of like, who cares? You know, but people were weird about it. If you couldn't get a medical treatment, they destroyed your life. Yeah. The next level of this, follow the line or else, terrifies me. Mm-hmm. It's gulags. It's do it or we're putting you in a you're going to go break rocks.
I feel like the COVID experience was like a psychological vaccination on the human consciousness. Like it was such intense fear, propaganda, and numbers being flashed on CNN, death numbers, these horror, scaring people insane. And then numbers start to come out that it's like a 99.7% survival rate. And you're like, what in the hell did we just do for 2 years? And now people are like immune to this, and not 100%, but it's like we're ready for this kind of stupid fear prop now. Like I'm hyper vigilant against fear propaganda at the moment, and I know a lot of other people that weren't in 2020.
Well, but even at the time in 21, I mean, people like me that got let go, other people from bands all around that got fired. My guys went on tour. They all caught COVID anyway. I wasn't there to blame. Like it didn't matter. You know, it was just about getting everybody in line. Like everyone has to do this. We're not going to have any dissenters in the camp.
It exposed a lot of people, a lot of bad people.
Yeah, and now,
or you don't agree with bad people, but it exposed a lot of people who are willing to engage in dark deeds.
There you go.
We'll agree on that
I'll
one.
meet you there.
Meet
I'm
you
just
there.
saying, like, yeah. But for me, with the white lung or whatever the new thing, the fact that the newest round of the vaccine, that the brand new one that nobody wants,
There's
You know,
another round, or
there's an updated booster, right? So now they're saying what Hochul in New York was like. Well, if you got the other ones, it doesn't matter now. Now you need this new one because nobody wants it. I think it's up to 14% uptake. So it's like, does that make the other 86% of Americans anti-vaxxers now?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.